Imagine a person made of warm, glowing light, walking through the world as a living lantern. Everyone they pass draws close to bask in the heat. You give light to this person, a flame to carry for that one. But with each gift, your own center grows dimmer, until the chest where your light originates is hollow. You likely frame this relentless output as a moral imperative. You suppress your own exhaustion, your own hunger, and your own loneliness because you believe that ignoring your needs to fulfill the needs of everyone around you is the highest expression of love. But underneath that conviction is the reality of treating your own body as a human bridge. You stay flat to hold the weight of everyone else's crossing, even as your muscles tremble. You tell yourself this is purpose, but the path across your back is becoming the only path anyone remembers. If this relentless giving is truly love, why does it leave you with secret anger instead of fulfillment? Why does the devotion you offer to others leave you feeling utterly empty at your core? Compulsive self-depletion is a psychological trap disguised as a moral good. It mimics the appearance of generosity while slowly hollowing out the person who practices it. Psychologists define this pattern as the self-sacrifice schema, part of the other-directedness domain. It is a survival mechanism that emerges from very specific developmental conditions. The pattern often begins with a parentified child. A small child carrying a heavy adult represents the burden of managing a caregiver's emotional well-being, often due to depression, illness, or instability in the home. In this environment, the child internalizes a specific message. Their own personal needs are a burden. To have a problem or to ask for comfort is seen as unacceptable to the family system. Environments with highly conditional approval hijack a child's natural empathy. They learn quickly that affection flows when they are serving and dries up the moment they have needs of their own. Love becomes transactional. This makes the adult's drive to give a trauma response. They are operating on a childhood rule stating that sacrificing personal needs is the only currency that buys affection. In adulthood, the schema drives the individual to scan their environment for distress, positioning themselves to help before being asked. They will override physical illness or exhaustion to fix others' problems, all to avoid the internal terror of feeling selfish. This flowchart maps the cycle. It begins with voluntary overgiving, which leads directly to total depletion. In this stage, the individual gives everything away without voicing a boundary or asking for any reciprocity. Because the person is empty, they feel hidden resentment toward the people they serve. That anger conflicts with their identity as a good person, which triggers intense guilt. To make up for that selfish anger, they loop back to more giving, and the cycle resets. This is what separates self-sacrifice from subjugation. A person who is subjugated suppresses their needs because they fear punishment, but the self-sacrificing person does it because they believe it is right. This makes the resulting resentment feel shameful and unjustified. This invisible loop turns a natural capacity for empathy into a toxic cycle, keeping the person trapped in a state of exhaustion and unexpressed anger. When the continuous weight of the schema reaches a breaking point, the mind develops unstable coping mechanisms to handle the overload. The first phase is surrender. This is the bottomless giver who completely suppresses their own needs. They treat exhaustion as a badge of honor and push through the depletion until they run entirely dry. The second phase is avoidance. This is the burned-out recluse who suddenly collapses. They avoid anyone with needs and cut off relationships entirely because they never learned the middle ground of balance. The third phase is overcompensation. This is the resentful martyr. Their overgiving becomes a form of power, leading to explosive demands for acknowledgement for sacrifices that were supposedly voluntary. These swings are fueled by an internal split. A compliant surrenderer mode dominates the surface behavior, while an ignored, starving, angry child acts out from underneath. None of these states are sustainable. Withdrawing into isolation or exploding in martyrdom are simply different ways of drowning under the same psychological rules. Healthy, nourishing giving must flow from a place of personal abundance rather than fearful obligation. You give because you have enough to share, not because you believe you owe it to the world. The therapeutic goal is developing a healthy adult mode. This internal state understands that self-care is a strict requirement for sustainably caring for anyone else. Recovery requires practicing the act of receiving care without immediately reciprocating. You have to learn to tolerate the temporary, agonizing guilt of saying no, and discover that the world does not end when you prioritize yourself. This generated video of a sturdy stone bridge arching over a rushing river illustrates the goal of this transition. A sustainable path for others must be built from outside materials, wood and stone, rather than your own spine. Stepping off the altar of self-sacrifice and acknowledging your own needs is not an act of abandonment. It is the only way to experience reciprocal love and keep your light from going out.